And our final item on the agenda, resolution to encourage state representatives of the 15th and 18th districts to sponsor and enact an immigration law. Councilman Russell.
A resolution to encourage state representatives in the 15th and 18th legislative districts to sponsor legislation in the next legislative session similar to the immigration law recently adopted in the state of Arizona. I make a motion that we pass this.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second. One question that I had, I see the changes in here, adding the 18th district in there, the date down, adding the 15th district in there. Date down the bottom will need to change to the 6th.
Yes.
And do we still have, well, silly question because it's there, we still have the portion in here that talks about existing federal laws which are not being enforced?
I would submit that we could change that to by and large, not being enforced. Unless you have better language that would fit that, I would entertain.
I would flat strike it, but that's only my opinion, and I don't have a vote in this, so.
Right.
Again,
Mr. Mayor?
if we've got a resolution that we are, I don't believe we should ever craft a document that we're going to use either in-house, in the city, forward on to legislators, forward on to the Congress or anything else asking them to take action if we are going to put information in there that may be very inaccurate. I believe that the federal government and the Defense Department would argue that the amount of money that they're spending and the number of troops that are on the borders now constitute the federal laws not being enforced. I would have a real problem if I was on the council, and again, I'm not, so I'm going to get off my soapbox, if I am sending a document on to other legislators asking them to take action that has something that is materially incorrect in there.
And I can concur with your statement from the standpoint of, I think that to say, I don't like when people say everybody's this way or all is this way. I do think that we have to recognize that there is a problem or else this document wouldn't be needed. So if someone has some better wording for that sentence, I would be open to entertaining an amendment to that so that it's a little more palatable. So it still gets the point across, but yet it still is.
It seems to me that the fact that the state of Arizona passed its act is statement enough.
Mr. Mayor?
Michael?
I move that in the fourth whereas, we strike the words which are not being enforced. So that it would read, whereas this law mirrors existing federal laws and.
Okay. Second?
Did you put that in the form of a motion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I move that we strike the words which are not being enforced.
Okay.
Sean, are you okay with that?
Again, it's whether you're okay.
I know that, but you have concerns and you represent the city as well, so, and my point is I was gonna vote that I'm not vote for it because I don't think we're at a consensus here. And with that, that's why I'm asking you, since are we at a consensus, or do we need to set this thing down and continue to look at it a little bit further?
From the administrative side, I don't have a problem with the document the way it's sitting now if that amendment goes in there. Again, like I mentioned at the workshop, we're really not doing anything more than asking our legislators to try and help enforce the laws that are already on the books, and anything that runs contrary to that I would think would be odd to be in that position. So
One more piece from our side of the world and saying please enforce the laws, but no doubt they're getting that from every constituent in the city, and
yep,
they're getting the message.
nope, understood. John, did you have a second on that amendment?
I had a second, and Councilman Shoemaker has a comment within that
Dave.
amendment.
I wanted to address your concern, Mr. Mayor, about the Department of Defense and the federal government thinking that they're putting a lot of effort into enforcing these laws. These are inputs. Troops sent to the border, increases in the Border Patrol, billions of dollars spent. These are all inputs. The outcomes are not there. The outcomes are lousy. The outcome is that whatever they're doing, it's ineffective. And therefore, I support anything that draws their attention to that. And I can live with if I have to, I can live with this to get the resolution.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand my message. I'm not necessarily believing that everything that's being done the best way possible on the borders is being done.
Yeah.
When we make a blanket statement that they're not being enforced, I think we would have an awful lot of people that could put an awful lot of paper in our hands that argues the other direction.
Not being enforced effectively, I don't know.
I think just the mirroring the existing federal laws, I think
That
sums it
certainly
up.
drives it home.
Sums it up.
Okay, any other comments on the amendment? I've got a motion and a second to strike in the fourth whereas line the words "which are not being enforced." All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor? With regards to making sure that we're as accurate as possible with this resolution as well, I would move that in the third whereas, we replace the word immigrant with the word alien. So they would read, whereas this law authorizes state and local law enforcement officers, if they have a reasonable suspicion that somebody is an illegal alien, to determine the person's immigration status.
I'm making some notes here.
Did I miss something? Didn't we just vote on?
It was an amendment.
Just on the amendment.
Discussion?
Yes.
The term illegal alien is a legal term. It is the proper designation for the people who have entered the country illegally. The term illegal immigrant and undocumented immigrant, both of these terms are political constructs. And I think it would be wise to use the legal definition in our resolution. And I thank Congressman Delaware, you've been promoted, for bringing this to our attention, because I didn't catch it when I read it.
Any other comments in regards to the Second Amendment? Okay, I've got a motion and a second to amend the third whereas to strike the first word immigrant and insert the word alien. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we're back to a motion and a second to pass a resolution. Paul?
I would like to propose an amendment which essentially removes state representatives in the 15th and 18th legislative districts and replaces it with our representatives in the United States Senate and House of Representatives. In detail, that would remove from the first line 15th and 18th legislative districts. I would also, and leave sponsor and replace that with, as I said, our representatives in the United States Senate and House of Representatives. To sponsor legislation in the next legislative session, period, and delete similar to immigration law recently adopted in the state of Arizona. Then remove the last whereas, which reads,